Beautiful morning in Modesto, California. God, I'm just so grateful for everyone that is here today. And God, there's just some amazing people here in this room doing some amazing things in our community. And thank you for that, God. Thank you that we get to work together, we get to be together, be friends together, learn together, and just collaborate together more and more. And God, I pray for this morning and just for all that's going to be done here. God, I'm just really excited about our chief being here and just what we get to learn from him and how we get to work together with him and just others, city officials as well. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, grab a seat. I want to welcome you all here to our Catalyst gathering. This is our every month. If you're new here, we gather like this the first Thursday in every month, although this is the second Thursday because of 4th of July last week. But we gather like this every month. And like I was praying in this room, there are some unbelievable people, and I hope that you get to meet them. Meet as many as you can, because seriously, we are making a difference in this city. And we've got so many leaders, influencers, and everybody, and that we're just trying to, transform our community. And that's why we're here, and that's why we exist. So please meet as many people as you can and get to know their stories. On your table, there is a sign-in sheet like this. If you can just pass this around your table and just fill that in. We want to know that you're here, and we want to be able to just champion what you're doing. And if you've got a big event going on or something coming up, let us know about it. We want to help you get the word out on that. Hey, also on your table, everybody can take this out, this half-page flyer. Everybody look at that. This is what's coming up these next few months. We are really excited and proud about some of these themes that we have got going on. Next month, we're going to talk about our schools. Schools begin, I think, August 11th. I think most schools, August 11th? That's my school, begins August 11th. Sylvan, August 11th. Modesto City is August 11th, too. And, timely that we're going to talk about our schools, how we need to love and reach out to our schools. Our schools are wanting our help, and they're needing our help. On the 4th of September, some of our local health needs, our public health officer is going to be here, Dr. John Walker, and I'm excited about October 2nd. We have a college in this town. You know that? Of course you know that. But we don't know, we want to talk about our college, and our president of our local college is going to be here. And then on the 6th, Debbie back here is going to talk about human trafficking, the reality, the sick reality of human trafficking all over our town, in our area. And then on the 4th, our Stanislaus County CEO, Stan Rise, I met with him this last week. I'm so excited he's going to be here. And just talking about, families, the core of our community, and why our community is struggling. If we really bring it down to it, our families are struggling. And so he's going to talk about that, and he is really passionate about working and strengthening our families. So that's what's coming up. And then on the back of the flyer, where do you fit in on the back of this flyer? Throughout the month, throughout every week, every month, or every quarter, these groups meet. And like-minded people come together and just kind of, hey, let's talk about what you're doing. Let's learn from each other. And if you fit in one of these, I want to encourage you to join and check out one of those networks on that page. Hey, one of them I'm going to make mention of is our monthly pastor's lunch. Today, every first Thursday every month, our pastors meet at Chevy's, 11:30. So right now, take your phone out, text your pastor. You can do it. I give permission. And say, what are you doing for lunch? You need to go to Chevy's. And there'll be, last month we had, I think about 36 pastors that were there. And it was incredible. It was incredible to see the diversity that was there. And just less these people coming together and just talking to each other. And some haven't seen each other in a long time or didn't know each other. And so it really is a cool thing for the church leaders of our community to come together. They need to. They absolutely need to. Christy, where are you? Come on up here, Christy. This is Christy Berlin. Hey, let's welcome Christy Berlin. Randy, do you got another mic by chance?
That's okay.
You're loud?
I'm loud.
Okay. Well, we're going to make you louder. How's that sound? Hey, Christy she lives in the Creekwood neighborhood. You don't know where Creekwood neighborhood is? You're gonna find out a little bit here. And Christy is doing some amazing things in her neighborhood, and I want you all to hear about it. So I've got a couple questions for her. Tell us about your neighborhood, your role, and what motivated you to get more involved in your neighborhood.
Well, Pam is here from my neighborhood, so I cannot claim to be the queen of Creekwood neighborhood. I'm just a concerned neighbor.
Yeah.
And Creekwood neighborhood is a fabulous neighborhood full of families. We've got a little elementary school. We're right next to Johansson.
Okay.
So it's a great neighborhood to live in and to raise your family.
So tell us what motivated you to do something and to help your neighborhood more?
I would love to say it was some wonderful event, but it wasn't. It was a murder in our park of a young man, Tyler Crippen. I don't know if you've heard of Tyler, but it was his murder on a Thursday evening. It was like 8 o'clock in the evening. He was
How
just
long ago was
walking his
that?
girlfriend. A year and a half.
And what happened?
He was stabbed to death by gang members. It was horrific, just horrible. So a lot of us followed what was going on in Modesto B. We followed what was going on our Facebook page that was fairly new, and we just felt really helpless and hopeless, and we're shocked that it could happen in our community. A lot of us had really probably not paid too much attention to the park.
Yeah.
Plus, it was January, so we don't spend a ton of time in the park in January.
Yeah.
So a few of us just kind of got together and we're trying to figure out what could we do. Number one, to support the family, and number two, so that this would never, ever happen again. I mean, I have a 16-year-old, and Tyler was 18.
Wow.
So that's kind of what started everyone in the neighborhood to really wake up and want to be involved.
So what happened? How did you guys start talking together? What did you guys do? What are some of the things you guys did to start bringing people together?
First of all, after Tyler, we just wanted to try and give back to the family that it had happened to. So we, about 4 or 5 of us got together and did a candlelight vigil for him within a few days. And that's when I first noticed that my neighborhood was incredibly powerful, because there was only 3 or 4 of us that said, hey, we should do something. Suddenly, the second we posted that, we had people from the neighborhood posting on Facebook saying, what can we do to help? So we had, one lady had hot cocoa and coffee, and another person brought candles, and another person, and it just kind of went on from there.
Yeah.
And then we pretty much decided after that, although the tragedy was not going to go away with what had happened, we did not want Creekwood Park to be known as the park where Tyler was murdered.
Yeah.
We wanted to take back our park. So right after Love Modesto, because it was so clean, our park after Love Modesto, we decided to do family picnic in the park.
That's great.
And we've been lucky to partner with Johansson High School, who they're fabulous, and their band came out.
Yeah.
We had a number of different vendors who came out to support us.
Oh, that's great.
And we just had a great family picnic in the park, and it was a huge success.
Oh, yeah.
So we decided to keep doing that. So we've had 2 now. We have our annual family picnic in the park for Creekwood. We are very involved in National Night Out.
Yeah.
We usually have our Johansson Jazz Band come out and play for everybody.
Oh, that's great.
We just had our first movie night in the park,
Really?
which was amazing.
What movie?
We watched Despicable Me 2.
That's
it was great.
movie.
My only issue that night was all of a sudden the school sprinklers went on. And I was at the park going, oh, please God, no.
Oh, no.
Please God, no. Because there was thousands of dollars of equipment sitting out there. And I'm like, no. We were very blessed.
No
They did not go
sprinklers.
on. Just the school sprinklers went on. But we're having another movie night. It was a huge success. I mean, people are on our Facebook page and on our nextdoor.com page and asking us, when's the next one? Can we do it monthly? Can we do it weekly? Like, if you want to help, we can do it monthly. But that's kind of cool, too, because people are staying around when we do an event now, helping. They want to be involved.
Any practical advice or suggestions you have for us? We all live in neighborhoods, that how we could better our neighborhood or reach out to our neighbors or even inspire people who we know, who we work with, to be out in their neighborhood as well.
We can all say we're busy. I've got 2 kids who I am running every night after I get off of work. And I was so horribly guilty of pushing my garage door button so I can get in my garage and then putting it down. I would go out just to get my mail. That was it. And then I'd be back in the house or going back out to run somewhere. I now go outside. I've met all of my neighbors that are around me. I can't afford not to know my neighbors because I need to know what's going on. I would love to sit up here and tell you in a year and a half, there's no crime in my neighborhood. We know that's not true. But our neighbors are so much more aware of who belongs in our neighborhood and who doesn't. And then we actually found out we liked each other, which was kind of cool. That was kind of neat. And instead of walking my dog just around my little block, we are all making it a point to be in our park. If you have a park or a common area in your neighborhood and you are not investing your time in it, other people will, and they are not people you want in your neighborhood or in your park. So that would be my advice.
That is great. Christy talked about National Night Out. On your table, there's a flyer coming up here in just less than a month, first Tuesday in August. It's just a great night just to just get out and meet your neighbors. Get out in your front yard. Get out of your backyard. Get in your front yard and do a barbecue or a fire pit or deliver cookies. There's all kinds of ideas on our website, loveourneighborhoods.com. And just we need to take the lead. Don't expect someone else to do it. And it's not rocket scientists to pull it off either, by the way. It's just being out there and just talking to people. And no doubt your neighbors, your neighborhood will be better for it.
And you'd be surprised. There are probably people who want to put their name out there. They just don't know how to get started. I highly recommend nextdoor.com and Facebook. We have a Creekwood Neighborhood Awareness. We changed it from Neighborhood Watch because it just seemed negative. So now it's Neighborhood Awareness, and we talk about everything in our neighborhood.
Oh, that's good.
If Jeff's having a garage sale, our neighbors know about it.
That's
If
good.
there's a lost dog, obviously we do crime too, but just that one
Just
person to step
positives.
out and say, hey, does anybody want to do anything? I guarantee you will not be the only one.
That is great. Hey, let's appreciate Christy for sharing with you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, let's do this. Let's pretend or imagine in this room we are one big neighborhood where a lot of you know some people, which are probably the ones right maybe at your table, but you don't know the rest of your neighbors here in this room. So we're going to do something that for your introverts you might not like initially. But I promise you'll go, that was a cool thing. I'm so glad we did this because I got to meet people I didn't know. I want you to stand up. I want you to go to another table of neighbors that you haven't met yet, the best you can. And then at your table, just start off by just introducing your name, where you work, or where you volunteer, and then we're going to do a couple more things. So go. Meet your neighbors. All right, go find that table and sit down. Lynette.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Good to see you, Lynette. All right, everybody, find that table. Just sit down at another table. Quit talking to your neighbors standing up. All right, we got to move on. Sit down at your table. I know. All right, here we go. All right, this is what I want you to do. Once you get to the table, and Randy, if you can back the slide up one, we're gonna ask some questions at your table. Here's what I want you to do. First of all, make sure you introduce yourself, share with each other where you're working, where you volunteer. This is a good exercise. This is a great buzz in this room, actually. This is what I asked for, and we're getting it. This is awesome. All right, on the screen are some questions. Start working through these questions on the screen. You got about 5 minutes. Go. Or
say.
how about like Marvin? Would that be a nice name? Marvin? Would that be a nice name for your?
We haven't decided on a boy's
No,
name.
oh yeah.
There's a website. All the Brazilian soccer players have one name. So if you go and find a website, if you type in Christian, it'll give you a name. I'm next.
So let's give it some time. Oh, our clock is dead. Oh no. See? Give it some time here. It's 7:07, so they got. I would even maybe 7:32, whatever. If you feel led, it might be cool and encourage people. Hey, pray for those at your table. Then I got a mic for him up there. You can share them, whatever. We have an extra mic in case we need it. I just left it up there. But I think you probably just passed the mic off to him. It's good to go.
All right. Hi, I forgot your name though. Lita. I'm Marvin. Hi. Hi. Well, I saw you earlier talking to Cheryl Van Horn, and I. Oh, there we go. New homes and okay. Okay. Mobile. Okay, good. Well, thank you. Lita Theodore. Is that did I say it right?
Yes.
Theodore.
Ages
Where did we meet?
at Useful Guides.
Oh, were you one of the interns?
No, I was working with. I just volunteered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really bad with names and faces.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. I know yours because you're all over.
Yeah, unless I saw
I'm
you.
not all over, so.
Unless I met you in jail or something.
Oh no. Oh, never.
Well, you met me. You
If I
came to
ever
visit
get
me.
there, I'll call you. No.
We'll call Ross. He can afford the pay.
He's being rude. He's interrupting the table.
Oh, I'm sorry. And he is right.
Oh, let me do that. I can do that.
Jeff, you know what you could do? I'm sorry, unless you're doing something important. You want some coffee? You good? You sick? You okay? Your eyes don't look good. Yeah, your eyes don't look like you're sleeping now. There's something happening.
Julian.
Hi, Jim.
Sure. I'll get
Yes,
you
sir.
I heard your name.
Yes, yes.
I'm not sure. I don't know from
We-
where, but
from Mayor's Prayer Breakfast.
oh,
When we did the week-long
yes,
prayer
yes,
thing.
yes. Oh, Jim. Oh, from Heritage
Harold,
Baptist.
Harold Baptist.
Harold Baptist.
Yes.
Good to meet you.
Yeah,
Good to
good
meet
to see
you.
you.
Good to meet you. Hey, Jim. We've got. Did you get the invitation to pastor? We have a pastor's lunch every Thursday. I mean, sorry, once a month on Thursday, the first Thursday of the month.
Yes, I got that.
But if you can come for lunch today,
Yeah.
meet some of the other guys.
And
if you
that's going
can.
to be at
Chevy's.
Chevy's.
11:30. We're
On
done at
Standiford?
yeah, 11:30 to 10 to 1. The guys leave when they need to leave.
Okay.
But it'll be
Okay.
great. Okay. I'm Marvin. Hi.
Oh, I'm Marvin.
Hi, Doug.
meet you.
Doug. Marvin.
Doug?
Good.
Doug's new guy on staff here.
Oh, okay. Well, we've talked on the phone, and
Oh,
I
okay.
saw you at
Yeah.
the Greek restaurant quite some time. It's good to meet you, Doug.
Yeah.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you too. Well, I was interrupting, so
No problem.
did you just come to work, or were you going to hang in here for a little
No,
bit?
I'm
Or?
hanging in. I was actually
Okay.
I was sitting over there. I was getting there to grab some water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, first time.
Okay.
First time at this one. I'm usually. Well, I haven't been here on Thursdays because I hadn't moved completely up here.
Oh,
So I'd
okay.
been here Sunday through Wednesday and then traveling back down south.
Oh, is that what it
where
was?
My family was.
Ooh,
So
that's
we
rough.
finally moved last week.
Okay.
So
Well,
we're
listen,
here.
if like I told you, when you're ready,
Yeah.
man, if I can
Yeah.
sit down and be your
Yeah.
friend,
No, definitely.
especially, well, yeah, there's quite a few people we know that we can help you with,
Yeah.
and you can help us, I'm sure,
Yeah.
and together.
Yeah, cool.
And I know you're going to need friends outside the congregation
Yeah.
as time goes on.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you, Gary.
Cool.
So not that, yeah, you know what I
nice
mean.
to meet you, Mark.
We've done this long enough.
Yeah.
We know what
Oh,
I mean. And you know what I meant. Hey, how's it going, man? You all right?
You met Chris?
No, I'm Marvin. Teresa. Teresa. It's
Teresa.
good to meet you. I'm Marvin. Good to meet you too.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. I understand Spanish, but I don't speak it. So.
Pues hay que hablar por español, él no entiende.
Oh, he doesn't understand?
No.
Güero.
Yes.
See, I know all the nails.
Oh,
You know, I knew those.
I think those are the fun to learn.
Seriously? Yeah? You gonna stay in Salida or no? Turla.
He's got a mansion he's building.
Oh. See, I didn't know that.
Big old house.
I didn't know that.
So what are some of the challenges you guys are facing in being a mayor?
Well, I'm confident as always we didn't give you enough time. So when we are finished here, right at 10 after 8, if there's somebody around the table that you didn't get to meet, please take some time. The most important, as far as I'm concerned, the most important value of this time together is for us to get to know each other. I do want to tell you a story before I introduce the chief, and it's going to be on the slides. That's me right there, yes. A story about public safety. This is a story about 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. The important job of public safety was given to everybody. Everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it. Nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it. But nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody, when actually nobody accused anybody. So here's the moral of the story. Everybody is responsible for the safety, health, and well-being of all the citizens in our community. And so I want to introduce to you a privilege I have. He's been with us almost 2 years as police chief. Chief Galen Scott comes to us from Long Beach, California. He worked there almost 19 years and there in Long Beach as a patrol officer as well as a commander. And we've had some incredible conversations about what it means to, his plan as well, to empower neighborhoods and neighbors, because again, everybody's responsible for the health and well-being of our community, and we're all responsible for each other. So I want to welcome you. Please welcome the Police Chief, Galen Carroll.
And yeah, I'm not sure when I became Scott Marvin. It's okay. He's doing payback because at one of my town hall meetings, actually, his name completely blanked out, and I know Marvin, and we've had several meetings, but I was just staring at him until he actually introduced himself. So this morning, I'm actually going to talk to you about a couple of things. I'm going to just share, if any of you made it to any of the town hall meetings that I had, some of this information was there, and it's partially, hey, this is where we are as a police department, as a city. That last thing that Marvin did was actually very, very good, because in the police academy, one of the things that we're taught very early is about Sir Robert Peel, who's considered the founder of modern policing. And one of the things, he has 7 principles, but one of those is public safety is everybody's job. It just so happens that the police do it full time. And I think over the years we've kind of forgot that the police department it's a great job and it's a great career, but it's actually become, hey, who do you call for everything from my kid won't go to school to my neighbors overwatering their lawn to whatever. And so you end up responding to a whole bunch of stuff that you probably weren't originally intended to respond to. So, Marvin, I think there was a, oh, there it is. I didn't see it on the back screen. So just this is going to be a quick overview of the police department, where we're at. I'll tell you right now, there's bad news in there because there's a lot of work we need to do as a city. And part of that's my responsibility. That's what you guys hired me to do. I don't look at it as my police department. This is our police department. And I look at the community as kind of the stakeholders or the board of directors of your police department. So just real quick, if you go to the next slide, we broke down the city into 4 areas, and it was actually broken down that way a while ago. And then with budget cuts, things like that, they went away from that. I went back to 4 area commands, and the reason why I did that is my belief, if everyone's accountable, kind of like that saying, then nobody's accountable. And so I went back to 4 area commands so I could actually hold different lieutenants accountable for what's happening in their area. As you'll see, they're actually kind of disproportionate in size. Southeast is really, really small. And then Northeast is really big, and same with Northwest. That's partially because when those were first made, the city hadn't grown quite as much as it has now. So we will be probably redistributing some of the size of those to make the workload a little bit more even. The northern part of the city actually has the most people. I think Northwest is like 70,000, and Northeast is about the same, and another 2 are pretty small. Other issue is if you live down in Southwest, part of the time you're divided by a river, so lots of times we'll only have 1 or 2 officers down there, and they're separated from that river from everybody else in the city that's coming to help them out. So if you could go to the next one. Staffing wise, and I'll just touch on this real quick. 2008, you had 287 officers. Today you have 209, and that's if we have all the positions filled. Usually, if you run a business or a police department, you have about 10% of your staff gone all the time. Vacations, there's usually 10 to 12 that are injured at one time, something like that. So if you go to the next slide real quick. If you look, if we have all 209 officers, we have about 1 officer per 1,000 people. If you're thinking of an Old West town of 100 people in an Old West town, you usually had the town sheriff or something. Well, that's 1 guy to every 100. The national average, I will tell you, Modesto will never be at that. Most of California will never be at that, and I would never advocate that. Because you can look at Baltimore and Washington, D.C., and New York and Boston. They're still just as have just as many problems as we do, but they have a whole army of people that are out on the street. So officers per 1,000 doesn't mean a whole bunch. A lot more has to do with the community and how we work together as a community. But we're a very lean department, and so it creates some challenges more customer service wise on follow-up, and sometimes the frustration from the community of, hey, how come it took 2 or 3 hours for officers to come out to my house for a burglary report? And quite honestly, it's because I didn't have anyone to come out to your house because we prioritize calls to get people out there. And then the other frustration that I hear quite a bit, and we're just as frustrated, is, hey, it took you 3 hours to come out and now nobody's investigating it. Well, that's because there's only, there was 2 guys for all the property crimes in Modesto. We took 2 back from StanCat, which was the auto theft task force. So now there's 4 that investigate all the property crimes in Modesto. If you go to the next slide, if I had a clicker, I'd go through really fast. Here is where we rank, and this is crime per capita. So all the cities in California, that includes LA, where I came from, Long Beach, San Francisco, Oakland. We are the 5th most violent city per capita in California, and we're number 4 in property crime per capita. So we have some issues. If you go to the next slide real quick, and this is actually where it gets scary. If you look at it based on cities our size, which is 175,000 population and 250,000 population, we're number 1 and number 2. And so, we're always the top of the worst list. We don't really want to be at the top of this list either. So as a police chief, that's one of my challenges, is how do we get off of this? How do we not be number 1 and number 2? If you go to the next one, please. If you look at victimization rates, I didn't have 2013 when we put this together. It takes a little while for the state to actually compile all their numbers before we actually get those numbers out. But if you look just in 2012, pretty much you were twice as likely than anyone in California to be a victim here in Modesto. You can go through all the different burglary, larceny, vehicle theft. So we have our challenges, and that's why I've been working with Marvin, and several of us are getting together to say, hey, how can we bond together as a community? Can we bond together and be tighter neighbors? Because the closer we are and the more we look out for each other, the bigger impact we can have on this. You go to the next one, please. Here's where it's concerning for me as a chief, the most concerning. And the way this is if you have 100 crimes, if you look back in 2004, 92 out of the 100 here in Modesto were property crimes. So, you know, some type of theft or something like that, something where nobody got hurt. Only 8 out of the 100 were violent crimes where someone was getting hurt. If you go to 2013, go back just one, please. If you go to 2013, you can see that's grown to 15 out of 100 are violent crimes where they're robberies or someone's getting hurt or something like that. There's lots of reasons for that. Gangs, drugs, especially methamphetamine, which is a huge problem here in the valley. But that's a huge concern because you can see it keeps growing every year. Next slide there. This is the state of California, and the top line is us. We don't really want to be that top line, but we have a lot of work to do. So sometimes I'll actually see in the newspaper saying, hey, crime's going down, so we don't really have to worry about it. The right crime, we're working on it, but we still have a long way to go. If you go to the next one, this is just property crime, and then the next one is violent crime, and again, you start to see that rise up. Actually, the state of California has violent crimes have been going down every year, where we keep on going up. And if you go to the next one, this is the reason I put this on here is I will tell you, and there's actually a slide that says it, the police department hasn't given up, and we're not going to give up. And one of the things that's, I think, really important about this department is a lot of the officers live in Modesto or have family in Modesto or grew up in Modesto. And so unlike some other cities, they really care about what happens here, and they're out trying to do the best that they can. And there's a city just north of us, and I know we always compare ourselves to it, and I think we have to be really careful with that. But a few years ago, Stockton started having problems, and to me, their police department completely gave up and just said, whatever happens, happens, and it was really a disservice to the whole community. And I will tell you that your department hasn't given up. And since January, you can see that as far as arrests, they're still going out and arresting people. They're still going out and trying to make a difference. And with AB 109 and some of the changes in the laws and the criminal justice system, you can't arrest your way out of problems. But I'll tell you, and I'm sorry for the guys that live in different parts of the county, it's kind of like squeezing a water balloon. And if I can squeeze you out of Modesto, maybe we can keep squeezing that water balloon and get you out of our county. And so I'm kind of a believer that if I can even arrest you for today, at least you can't burglarize or break into someone's house today, and maybe you'll get the hint that we don't want you here. Or you'll get the hint that you need to get some help and take advantage of all the programs that many of you guys offer to actually help people out. So if you go to the next one, I don't know if you can, well, you should be able to read it. If you look, even Part 1 crimes, pretty much all the crimes so far, at least for the first part of the year, most of them are actually lower than they have been in the last 3 years. The arrests are higher by, I don't know, 1,000, 1,200, and all other crimes are actually lower. So like burglary, which is down at the bottom here, in May we only had, and I say only because that's not something you should be proud of, but there were 95 burglaries, which is the lowest in May that we've had in 3 years. That still means 3 houses a day are getting broken into, at least. So 3 people a day having their castle invaded by people and their stuff carried away. But if you go to the next slide, that's just the one that I said, hey, police department hasn't given up, and we need to make sure our community hasn't given up either. one of the things that I noticed when I came here, and I'll go into the good things I've seen about Modesto in our city. One of the things that I've noticed, and I noticed it when I first got here, is you have a segment or a small portion of the community, like the folks here in this room today, who are really engaged and really involved and really want to make a difference. But we have a large segment that really is kind of apathetic, and they've just come to believe this is just the way it is. This is our city. This is how we live, and they kind of expect those high crime rates, and it just comes with the territory. Where I lived in Southern California is a little city called Fountain Valley. I used to really be embarrassed about the city's motto because I didn't get a vote on it, and I thought it was the dumbest motto in the world. But their city motto is, "It's a nice place to live." And I will tell you, after moving out of there, where the crime rate was extremely low, I think, and granted it's a very small city, I think there was one murder in 10 years, and you move to a bigger city, you realize, wow, that motto actually did make a difference. So if you go to the next slide, please. So here's the positive things about Modesto. And the reason I bring up National Night Out, we actually are at the top of the list for something good. And that actually tells me that there's hope for our neighborhoods and hope for our neighbors, because that's people that are getting out and meeting their neighbors and hanging out with their neighbors, and getting involved in their community. Jeff, the man of endless energy, and I'm not exactly sure what you drink in the morning or where you get that. But love Modesto. Hey, that's a grassroots effort, and that is growing. I think you can see up there that Love Fullerton is coming this year, and that's in Orange County. Long Beach has been interested, and kind of had some issues of finding someone with as much energy as Jeff to get it off the ground. But there's a lot of cities that are taking that and copying it, and that's a good thing for our city, because that actually shows how many people are committed to making our city a better place, and we just need to capitalize on that if we can. And then again, we are a caring and generous community, and I put almost to a fault. And the reason I say almost to a fault is we actually attract people to our community just because how generous we are. And the other issue, and this is not about any one particular social issue in our community, but there are so many groups that want to do good that sometimes they're stepping on each other's toes. And I'll tell you that if we were a team of horses, we wouldn't be going very far, because we're pulling in all different directions. I mean, we all have the same goal, but we're not pulling in the same direction. And actually, when I saw this Stan Risen about rowing together, we need to learn how to row together, because there's so much energy and there's so many good things. We just need to bring those together and actually row together and move forward together. And if you go, there you go. Again, large number of motivated individuals. I'll tell you this town, and that's the best part about this town, is how many people just want to give back and really care, but sometimes they don't know how, or sometimes don't know where to turn. The small town feel, I have to be careful who I talk to about the police department, who I talk to about my officers, who I talk to about just about anybody, because there's that 5 degrees of separation normally. In Modesto, it's like 1.5 degrees, because everybody's either related or knows someone. So even though we're a pretty big city, we still have that small town feel. And if we can capitalize off that small town feel and get that back, that's how we make a better community and a better city overall. And then Modesto pride, I will tell you, as when you're an outsider coming in, you don't want to talk bad about Modesto to Modestans, because you might find yourself out in an orchard somewhere. And Doug Ridenauer, I don't know if you know him, but he was taking me to lunch one day, and he didn't tell me where he was going, and he'd retired, and we were driving outside of town, out to a restaurant out at, I think it's Maze, and it's way out there. Yeah. Anyway, we're driving, and I just keep seeing a bunch of orchards, and then he gets on the phone and says, "Yeah, we're on our way," and I'm like, "Hey, Doug, can I at least pick the orchard you're going to take me to?" But that pride's actually a good thing. And then, the history of banding together. All of the officers that come onto our department, when they start out, including myself, we have a short video, and we actually need to update it. But It talks about the history of Modesto, the history of policing in Modesto. And one of the things, and no, I'm not advocating quite as far as they went, but yeah, way back, the city got fed up with the crime. They got fed up with things that were going on, and the city banded together and basically ran those folks out of town. Yes, this is 2014, and I'm not saying we band together and go do a vigilante posse and run people out of town, but that banding together is part of the history of Modesto. And hey, how do we band together again to make sure that people know, hey, you're welcome to be here. You're part of our community. You're part of our neighbors, but let's be good neighbors to each other. And so, if you can go to the next one there. And I just really wanted to ask this question. Hey, are you willing to be a catalyst for change in our community? And I think most people that are here do. But I'm not a real bright guy, and so I wanted to really look up what catalyst meant. So if you can do the next one. So that's catalyst defined. And, a person or thing that precipitates change in a community. And it's funny that Christy was up talking about the Creekwood neighborhood, because there was an example in the dictionary of that. And I started to rewrite that about Tyler Crippen. And Tyler Crippen, that kid was, quite honestly, he was just a computer geek. And he looked like a computer geek. He wasn't a threat to anybody. That murder, if you don't remember it, it actually really, really pissed me off. And I wanted it to piss the community off too, so that it wouldn't just be one of those things of, hey, this kid got stabbed, let's move on. And he truly didn't do anything wrong. So Christy and her neighbors in that community, they've done a phenomenal job of banding together and starting to move forward. And not just with Creekwood, but with the entire city. We didn't get this way overnight. I look at it as kind of like gaining weight. You don't get fat overnight, and you don't lose the weight overnight. And so, how do we band together and start moving that forward? So, and Marvin keeps giving me the hey, hurry up, pal symbols in the back there. But I'll tell you this real quick. You're never going to find from me saying, hey, I want you to be the eyes and ears of the police department. What I'm asking for is everybody to be a great neighbor. And I think we all know what a great neighbor is, because, man, when you have a great neighbor, they look out for you. You look out for them. You know each other. You're interested in their lives. If for some reason there's a truck backed up to their driveway loading stuff up, you're concerned because you don't want to lose that great neighbor. And you don't wait till they get home to say, hey, are you moving or something? Or not say anything at all. And so that's one of the things that when people say, hey, how can we help? There's the bad stuff there, but how can we help? It's all about getting to know each other and getting to know our neighbors and really getting to know people on a first name basis, so you can not just wave at them, but really appreciate them. And I think the more we actually know people and personally know them, the more you look out for them. Because then I know, like one of my neighbors, Sonny, interesting guy. Sometimes he's really, really friendly. Sometimes he's not. But I'll tell you that I always know that he knows everything that goes on our street. It's just, you just have to go talk to him. And so hopefully we all know our neighbors that well. And some have interesting and fun neighbors, which those are unfortunate. But usually when you have the bad neighbors, the ones that have to self-medicate with marijuana or other things multiple times a day, the other neighbors, when they band together, they start to realize, hey, we're not really part of this, and they move on. And that's stuff we can help out with as well. But I can't be there for every single individual in the city, as much as I would love to be. But if we band together and your neighborhoods almost become like small towns in the city, just like we divided the city up into 4 areas, we have the neighbors band together and look out for each other. And when there's strange things going on in their neighborhood, they actually say something or stand out in front. It makes a huge difference. And I'll just finish it, Marvin, real quick with just a real short story. We were following burglars around. I had plainclothes detectives that was following a burglar. We knew he was doing burglaries on houses. And it was actually awesome to see. and it's something we need much, much more of in our community. He kept going into neighborhoods, and the first one he went into, he parked and he got out and was starting to walk up to a house, and a little old lady was walking her dog, and she stood right by his car and got on her phone. And he gets in his car and drives away, goes to the next neighborhood, again, pulls in someone's driveway. Another neighbor comes out and gets on his phone, and he drives away. We went to 3 different neighborhoods before he decided to go home, and he got chased out of 3 different neighborhoods, which is awesome, but it'd be really cool if we weren't following him with plainclothes officers. Um, hey, if we can do that more, that's awesome. Christy's, something you mentioned about it doesn't have to be neighborhood watch, and sometimes neighborhood watch can have a negative connotation, or it sounds like it's just for one thing. And I'm not necessarily advocating for neighborhood watch. I'm advocating for let's really be neighbors and let's really be tight as a community, because that's where it comes from. And there's things that can help with communication and things like that. But neighborhood watch just, some people look at a neighborhood watch as, oh, you're the neighborhood watch captain. That means you're Mr. Nosy and what do I want to do with you? And you only talk about negative stuff of, 4 years ago my house got broken into, and Janie's house got broken into 8 years ago, and things like that, instead of doing the neighbors in the park. Talked about renting a movie screen because someone only has a brown garage since they don't have a park. But when the question is asked, what can we do? What can I do? Get to know yourselves, your neighbors, but also encourage everybody that you come in contact with to get to know your neighbors very, very well on a first-name basis. Get to know who they are. What makes them tick. I talked to Chuck briefly at the door, and he told me after 14 years he finally had his neighbor over for dinner just last week. And so we're all guilty of that. I'm guilty of that as well. And so everybody you come in contact with, if we can just spread that message, and then it becomes, hey, we all know each other very, very well, we can push a lot of the problems that we have out of our city into a city that isn't as tight as we are. Or we can actually help those that want help, so we don't have that problem over and over again. So, great.
We're going to get a chance to ask questions if there's any.
Why in March 2014 did the arrests go up? And I also noticed, I think the burglaries were up in March.
A couple things, and there's lots of factors to that, but it wasn't just March. It actually started in January, and it may have actually started almost a year ago. Part of the thing we started in January was predictive policing, and that's a software program. It's actually pretty cool. It takes 10 years worth of data, and then every day it updates it, and it uses some algorithm. Some guy much smarter than me programmed it. Apparently burglars, whether they did well at math in school or not, apparently their patterns are part of a mathematical equation. So what this does is, broken down the city into the 4 areas, each area it gives 10 500 square foot boxes where it believes the next crime is going to occur. And so what we do is, instead of sending officers out to patrol an entire beat, we send officers out to hit those boxes. And so that's one of the reasons is we're trying to really concentrate on those boxes. It actually has been very accurate. It's kind of scary accurate. It can't predict violent crimes, crimes of passion, things like that, but apparently there's a pattern that it picks up. So that is part of the reason, quite frankly. And as we move forward on that, that's one of the things with the police department. And Steve Ranks here, there's some other security companies that are around, and it's how do we push that information out to them, because they're out too, and they're out in the different neighborhoods. And really, how do we get it out to your neighborhoods of, hey, by the way, you're in the box this week. That's something you might want to know, so you can be a little more vigilant.
Thank you, sir, for being with us. My question is, what can we do to let your officers know that we appreciate them?
You know, I honestly I think they know that already. And one of the frustrating things that we do to our community sometimes is that you guys will wave and our guys won't wave back, and then you're like, hey, what's the deal? I think just when you get a chance, just say hi and treat them like a normal individual. The one thing that's funny, and my wife is starting to learn this, especially when she comes out and I'm in uniform. We realize that we're always on display, and so 4th of July was actually amusing. I took my wife and 2 nieces. I was in uniform. I usually don't go out with them in uniform just to Wendy's to eat because the girls were hungry. It was interesting because they were kind of noticing that people kept staring, and it was like, hey, we're just people like everybody else. So you know what? Just hi, how are you? Most of the officers actually really appreciate that. We do have the coffee with the cops and things like that, and that's just so that you can get to know, hey, this is a job. Chief is a title, police officer is a title, but we're just like everybody else in this room. So pretty much just treat us like everybody else in the room, if that makes sense.
Is there any way to get to know the police officer that is in charge or that is on your beat, in your neighborhood?
Yes and no. And the reason I say yes and no, and that's one of the things we are going to be working on, is we have more beats than we have officers. And so at night, quite frankly, there's only 9 officers that patrol this entire city from 2 in the morning till about 8 o'clock in the morning. So all of Modesto, there's 9 officers. The peak is about 22, but we have 25 or 26 beats. I don't know. I don't know who decided somewhere where there'd be 26 beats and you would have some that weren't filled. But that is something that, as we're doing the area commands, that's what I'm trying to work on is get it so that's your officer, and that's because it's just like getting to know your neighbors, getting to know the officers that work your area, and that is one of the things that all the officers that come in to meet with me, and it seems to be taking forever. The 3 things I preach to them are people, pride, and professionalism. And the people part is I really want people to leave saying wow in a good way, not in a bad way, because I think the bar is pretty low. All you have to do is treat people right, and they'll say, wow, I didn't expect that. But the pride is taking pride in your area and getting to know the people that you're actually supposed to be protecting, and actually get offended if someone thinks they can come into the area you're supposed to be protecting and victimize those people. So that's what we're really pushing, and part of that is getting them so we can get you to know them.
Chief, this is not a question. I just wanted to take advantage of this opportunity just to really honor you and thank you for who you are and what you're doing for us. And we just really appreciate you speaking on behalf of the room here for a moment. A month ago, my neighbor passed away. He served 33 years with Manteca PD. And after 2 years of retirement, as you know the statistics, he passed away. And it really hurt me because I never had an opportunity to thank him for his civil service and his duty that he served our community, and not realizing how much negative energy and information you absorb in your heart and your mind every single day. And we realize that that's a sacrifice and that you serve us like that. And I just wanted to thank you, Chief. You're real important and special to us and our community.
Thank you.
Let's appreciate our chief.
Thanks, Chief. Chief will be with pastors today for lunch at Chevy's, and it's for senior pastors, congregational leaders only. So if you have if most of you go to a church somewhere, just text your pastor and encourage them to be at Chevy's today. It's the meal's complimentary, so they can just come. And really all it is going to be for them to connect and also to meet the chief, and he'll talk with them a little bit and encourage them. We want to encourage them, and we want to encourage you to begin to work with us like you have been, rowing together to do this, to begin to tell a different story about Modesto. That we are rewriting the story about Modesto. 2 things. When Ross, who one of my heroes of the faith, Ross Browse in the back, started City Ministry Network, one of the stories about the people of God was that we were not engaged in our city, that we were so engaged with our own stuff that we just didn't really care. Now, it wasn't true, but that was part of the story. And I want you to know the first story is that you are all have joined to begin to rewrite that story about the people of God. That you are now beginning to rewrite that story about the people of God are engaged in the city and are caring about what's happening at every aspect of the city. And it's been amazing to walk all over the place and be a part of it and begin to see all of you engaged. You are rewriting the story about the people of God in the city. And then the second story that I'm going to continue to encourage you to continue to be with us to join as well as to recruit others is Jeff was showing me another story, another list where we are the crummiest city in the country. Well, they don't know the story that we know about our city. My mom used to say, I know what I got, because when I'd get in trouble from school, she didn't even ask me. She just spanked me. She didn't ask me if I'd done it. She just figured I did, and because she knew what I got. Well, she knew it. I know what I got. I know what I live in. On the other hand is this. It's an incredible city. And together, let's join together to continue to rewrite the story about Modesto. An incredible city, as Christy mentioned, incredible city to grow up in and to grow old in. A city of true deep relationships, of connectedness. This is far deeper than Neighborhood Watches. This is about connecting with our neighbors. And somebody mentioned, or Chuck mentioned 14 years. I was 25 years in my neighborhood. I was so involved in ministry that I would come in, put the garage door down, and didn't care. And God really convicted me about a year ago. And no, he'd been convicting me. I finally decided to cooperate with him to connect my neighborhood. And so I want you to know, let's rewrite two stories. One, you're already rewriting the story about the people of God in our city because you are so key, and it's changing. And then the second story is this whole notion of let's rewrite together the story about Modesto. That it's not the worst city of whatever. That once you get to know us, you realize we're a great city to grow up in, to grow old in. A city of great neighbors. A city of great neighbors. I'm going to say it to you one more time. A city of great neighbors. Join with us and continue to work in that direction. And I promised you 7:10 or 8:10, and it's a little after 8. We're going to give you time to connect. I was going to ask you to get around the tables to find out, okay, what is one thing you can do because of the chief's conversation today. So I'm only going to give you about 90 seconds. So I want you to start with that person who did not get a chance to work on the first question at the beginning, okay? Just one thing. Don't teach it, just say it. Go, real quick, and then I'll close. One action point from this morning. Personally or your organization. Police chief will be around. If you want to ask him questions, let me close this in prayer, and you can continue if you want, or if you need to go to work. Master, thank you for the privilege you give us to be in this city. What a great place to grow up and to grow old in. In Jesus' name, amen. Bless you guys. Keep talking. We'll see you in a little bit.